The religion that is Ohio State football, perhaps the most relentless in the country. Fans understand spring ball still carries weight here in Columbus, and the superstar everyone wants to see, Jeremiah Smith. Ryan Day expects urgency production from him and the entire team. Elite talent is always here for Ohio State. Who will be at the forefront, though, in 2026? Scarlet against Gray from Ohio Stadium. This fall, they will unite with hopes of a second national championship in 3 years. It is great to have you with us. Jack Kaiser, former Buckeye, Tyvis Powell, Michelle Steele down to the sidelines. Ohio State reloads every year. It's what they do. But Tyvis, they have 51 new players, and there is a lot to replace on defense.
The first thing I think about is 7 starters are gone on defense. 4, which may hear their name called in the first round. Go straight to that linebacker position. Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles are gone. We now have to lean on Peyton Pierce, who is a guy that they trust. We've seen him a lot last year, make a lot of plays. He's probably going to wear the green dot and be the captain. Looking forward to seeing him have a big day today.
Big shoes to fill, taking over for Sonny Styles. The big question for the offense, who is going to join Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis at receiver?
Well, there's a handful of names out there. One, Cardell Tate was explosive last year, 3rd in the Big Ten with yards after catching explosive plays. But now you look at Kyle Parker, a guy from LSU, who every time I've seen him, he's made plays. And then you got to think about Chris Henry Jr., top recruit. You've seen JJ as a freshman come in and make plays. They're expecting the same thing out of Chris Henry Jr.
Standards so high at receiver for Ohio State. The talent, the intensity here, undeniable. Scarlet and Gray, spring game from Columbus. Next. 2026 spring game for Ohio State. Rain expected at some point over the next hour. Let's go to Michelle standing by with Ryan Day.
Hey, Coach, weather is going to be a question mark with today's game, but what are your expectations for what you want to see out there?
Yeah, no, the forecast isn't great, but I mean, we still have a great crowd here. It just goes to speak to our fan base. It's still going to be a great atmosphere, so a good opportunity to see how our guys handle the environment. We'll grade it out and go from there.
Julian Sayin is back. What do you want him and the rest of that quarterback room to show today?
Well, you know, a lot of it's been what we've done in practice, and this is just another evaluation tool heading into the summer, but it's a good opportunity for them to get out here and, you know, work through a game-like environment.
Thanks, Coach. Have fun today.
Okay, thanks.
Back to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Game format today, it is Scarlet for the offense, Gray the defense, traditional scoring for the offense, and this is how the defense will rack up points, which is what Tyvis is most interested in.
Yes, I'm very interested in those takeaways. I would love to get a bunch of those for today, and obviously you want to get some of those sacks. Wonder if it'll be a quick whistle.
It could be. Yeah, quarterbacks can't touch them. About to get things started. Non-traditional kickoffs as well. Again, trying to minimize as much contact as possible while still simulating the physicality of game day in the fall. Connor Hawkins kick it off. About to see Jeremiah Smith for the first time. Superstar in college football, and Hawkins, the transfer from Baylor, redshirt sophomore. He's got a big leg.
Oh yeah, a lot of Buckeye Nation is going to be happy with him. You know, obviously when you get to the field goal situation, a lot of people will be locked in to see what he does for those kicks.
No doubt. Here comes Julian Sayin and the Scarlet offense. One of the Heisman front runners. He is the most accurate quarterback in college football.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see how he takes that next step. You know, you listen to some of these coaches talk about Julian saying, how do you progress from being a Heisman runner from last year? Well, they say they want to see more leadership in that and him taking more command of that huddle. And they say he's done a great job of that so far this year.
So much more comfortable with the operation. We have a thud period right now. Yes. No wrapping up over the first couple of drives. Jeremiah Smith in motion, and they'll throw it to him. First catch for the best receiver in college football. Dancing outside, and he's marked down after a gain of 6.
Yeah, I would love to see more of this. You get that traditional swing screen play right there. Get the ball on the edge to JJ. You know, JJ is considered as one of the best receivers in college football. How does he get better as a receiver? They want to focus on yards after catch today.
I'd go a step further. I think he is, no doubt, the best receiver in college football, maybe the best in Ohio State history by the time he's done.
Certainly knocking on that door.
Saying to pass once again, going to the sideline, targeting Smith, and it's knocked away. Devin Sanchez with the breakup. High expectations for him at corner this year. Here's what Jeremiah Smith is chasing as far as program records at this point. Chris Olave's got the touchdown record with 35.
I think Chris Olave can count his days on holding that. And you look at all of these records and how short they are away from him completing them. I think he's going to get them probably by week 2.
Ohio State will face Ball State week 1, Texas in week 2. Third down. Saying to pass once again, over the middle and complete. That's one of the new receivers for Ohio State this year, Devin McEwen, the transfer from UTSA.
Yeah, and I love to see Christian Allegro in there trying to make a play on that ball. You see you get a nice little screen, or a nice little slant route right there. He tries to get his hands in there. I would like for him to attack the arm. If you're not going to get the ball, attack the arm to break that pass. But it's a good catch by Davis.
Allegro, a tall, rugged transfer from Wisconsin, one of those players expected to step up at linebacker with the loss of Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. Our first run play of the game, the carry for Jacoby Jackson. Transfer from Florida, his 7th year of college, and his 3rd stop. He started in JUCO, community college at Kahoma Community College in Mississippi, Florida the last 3 years, and now with the Buckeyes.
Well, you know, you listen to the term develop here. He really wants to get that done. I was asking the strength coach, Coach Mickey Maratti, about him. You really want to focus on getting his body right to be able to take on control for 12 games of the season. That's been the big emphasis for him this offseason, is making sure his body's ready.
Make it to Jackson. Zayin checks it down short. Nate Roberts. He is expected to ascend to the top tight end spot this year, with Max Clare going to the NFL.
Yeah, you know, I see my good buddy Jake Butt talk about Max, our Nate Roberts this year. And, you know, obviously Jake is huge on tight ends. It would be nice to finally see one of those tight ends have one of those Cade Stover-like all our years when you talk about receiving. I think that's the one thing that's missing. Hopefully under Arthur Smith that can happen.
Yeah, Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator this year for the Buckeyes. 17 years in the NFL, and most recently the OC with the Steelers last year. Third down again. Zayin on target to Jeremiah Smith. Splitting tackles, whistles blow, and Smith is marked down at the 30.
Again, you see the heavy emphasis on getting the ball in Jeremiah Smith's hands now, and he's making plays with his legs. Nice little slant route, perfect ball. We talked to Coach Day yesterday about Julian saying, making sure he put the ball in a spot where his receivers can catch it and run right away. That right there is exactly what Coach Day is looking for.
I think that's a touchdown.
You know, it probably is. It's Jeremiah. It's going to be hard to bring him down anyways.
No doubt. He is meticulous, relentless with his workouts, and he demands that he gets coached hard. One of the best work ethics to ever come through here. Zayin through the air. Jackson on the catch this time, out of the backfield, and scampers down the sideline for a first down. Now Jackson's getting the first team reps at running back because of all the injuries at that position, including Bo Jackson and Isaiah West.
Yeah, 2 guys who were freshmen last year who I thought were sensational. You look at Bo Jackson having that home run hitting speed, and then Isaiah West got a little more physicality to him. It's going to be interesting when we get to the fall to see which running backs how the depth chart shakes off at that running back position.
Also look at Legend Bay, Turbo Rogers,
yes.
The other 2 injured. That could play a factor. From under center, Jackson, carry, dodging, and marked down after a gain of 4 at the 15-yard line.
You know, talking to Coach Day, another thing that he wanted to look at this spring game was to see the tackling from the secondary. You know, obviously there may be some weather that factors in later into this game, but right now, so far, I love the fact that these defensive backs are reading the run, they're looking at their keys, see that the tight end is blocking down, and they're triggering. They're getting down there to try to make a tackle for minimum gain.
A lot of veterans in the secondary this year for Ohio State, even with new faces, still veterans. Zayin throwing, end zone, and over the head of Kyle Parker. You mentioned him in the open, the LSU transfer. Let's go to Michelle.
Hi, everybody. We are here with Jackson Smith-Njigba, an Ohio State great. He just rang the bell. NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion. Has this just been a dream season for you, or what?
It has. I couldn't have planned it any better than, what has come to fruition. So I'm just super blessed, taking it all in, and, honored to represent, the great state of Ohio and these Buckeyes.
Every fan was locked in on the stadium scoreboard, video board, just to watch you ring that bell. How cool was that?
That was awesome. I love new traditions, old school principles, new school traditions, and honored to be a part of that, ring the bell. Just super excited to be here.
Jeremiah Smith is out there already making plays. It looks like that would have been a touchdown out there a couple plays ago in this series. Do you talk to him at all? Like, are you a mentor to him? What's your relationship like?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a mentor, but he knows anything he needs. He can always call me, text. We definitely get together, talk some ball. Just super proud of him, and, him pushing the bar even, further than, what we did. And, it's exciting times. It's exciting times here, and he's an exciting player. He's a winner, and it's going to be great to see, him this year flourish.
What's something that you took from this program and Coach Day specifically that translates so well for you in the NFL?
Yeah, really competitive excellence is something that, sticks with me to this day. You got to be ready when your time is called, when your team needs you. You got to be ready to perform, and, that's something I carry with me today.
You went in the first round of the NFL draft. This program might have 4 players in the top 10. Surprising? Probably not.
Not surprising, but, don't want to take anything away from them. Those guys earned it, from the first day they stepped in this building, stepped in this facility. So I'm just super happy for them. They can join the brotherhood of the NFL, and, we know those guys, Carnell Tate, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, they're going to represent us the right way. So I'm super excited and happy for them.
Congratulations on ringing the bell and everything else you've accomplished this season. Thank you so much. Do you need an umbrella? Do you guys have one in the booth? JSN needs one. We need an umbrella down here.
We're fine down here. You guys are warriors.
Yeah, y'all are.
Yeah, you heard he said he's in Seattle. He's used to the rain.
I played some ball in Seattle, so I know exactly what he means. It rains every day out there.
And congratulations to JSN on his record-setting contract with Seattle recently as well.
Oh, yeah. That was one thing that was actually expected of him. He played with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave here. And when you asked them who amongst them was the best, they all said JSN would be the best. He sure proved it.
All right, 4th and goal here. Zayn rolling to his right, away from the pressure, has room to run, and I don't know if he would have made it real time.
You know what? The thing about Julian is they wanted him to use his legs more. They wanted him to be more mobile. So it actually makes me smile to see Julian saying with the wheels, look at the knee lift there. My track coach would be happy to see the way Julian Saying ran that in. And we can get more of this in the fall. I think this will change the offense a lot because there was multiple times last year where Julian could have ran and he didn't. So it's nice to see him get that mindset that he's now going to take off and pick up some of those yards with his feet.
That is the main point of emphasis for him this year. So Buckeye fans love that. Ruled a touchdown with Allegro pulling up at the last moment. And a strong opening drive for the Scarlet team. We just talked to JSN, but so many first-round receivers to come through Ohio State and first-round players, period. Here are the first-round possibilities this year. All of these guys could go in the top 10, legitimate.
It is actually remarkable to hear that. I mean, these guys are all going to be difference makers to whatever NFL franchises decides to take a risk on those guys. I really love the way that they've been coached here. That moniker develop here is really a thing. These guys are going to go to the NFL and make an impact immediately when they touch that.
It's going to be fun to watch next week. Arthur Smith, we mentioned him, new offensive coordinator for Ohio State this year, coming from the NFL. He hasn't coached in college. No, he was at Ole Miss in 2010. He was a defensive intern. He didn't have an office.
Yeah.
He had a laptop. That was it. And 16 years later, he is now back in college at the OC with Ohio State.
Well, things have definitely changed the way they run college, and I think he's actually more suited for the job now that he's been in the NFL.
talk about that throughout the broadcast. There's the first pass for Tavian St. Clair, expected to be the #2 quarterback this year. He is extremely talented as a sophomore, former #2 recruit in the country out of Bellefontaine, Ohio, about an hour from Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, he got all the measurables, the size, the arm strength, the mobility. I mean, you look at that quarterback room, some would say he's the most gifted one in that quarterback room. Just has to figure things out on the football field and be more consistent.
After a 9-yard pass to Brock Boyd, the freshman, Favor Aki is wrapped up after a short game. Eli Lee, the linebacker, in on the tackle. And this might be the biggest question of the day for Buckeye fans when you look at the projection of quarterback in the future. Yeah. Not to mention this year, he's 1 snap away from playing at Texas. So these are very important reps that he's getting today.
Absolutely. That's why you're going to see Ryan Day right behind him, making sure that he's locked in, making sure that his eyes is in the right place, and just making sure that he's making smart decisions with the football. Because, as you said, 1 snap away. Obviously, he's going up against Justin Martin, the transfer from Maryland. But everybody thinks he's the heavy favorite to beat it. #2 quarterback. Look at that pass.
Throwing it back to Chris Henry Jr.
Oh, man.
Top wide receiver recruit in the country. And the first time Buckeye fans see him make a catch at Ohio Stadium.
And look at this. This passes like this. That's why you see people want him to be quarterback #2. Look how long of a pass that is, and he puts that absolutely on the money. Now, it's Chris Henry Jr., who's about 6'5", 6'6", so if you put it anywhere in the area, he's going to come down with that pass.
And perhaps the future dynamic combination for Ohio State.
We're going to find out after this game about who is going to be wide receiver #3 alongside Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Innes.
Chris Henry, prime candidate, as Aki is wrapped up. So Chris Henry Jr. out of Santa Ana, California, and Southern California. His late father, Chris Henry, who was a wide receiver for the Bengals, played at West Virginia. Immensely talented. You mentioned the length at 6'5". Yeah. Ohio State's just looking for more physicality from him at this point.
You know, it's funny. Last year I did sideline reporting with what Michelle is doing right now, and I got a chance to stand next to Jeremiah Smith. And I realized how much bigger he is, and it made sense to why he was doing what he's doing to these corners in the college game. Well, I'll let you know that Chris Henry Jr. is even bigger than Jeremiah Smith. So if he does get the chance to, we see him in the fall, there's going to be a lot of plays where you just throw it up to him, and he's going to come down with that pass.
Similar to Smith, in those 50-50 ball situations, they're just nasty.
You know, it's the reason why you see the cornerback position start to grow in height. If you look at Ohio State's DB room, particularly the corners, you got Devin Sanchez, who's about 6'2". You got Inky Jones, that's about 6'2". Jordan Thomas is 6'2". They're trying to find a way to be able to match up with some of these taller wide receivers.
3rd and 9 here for St. Clair, second-string quarterback for Ohio State. Stands in the pocket, pressure comes, and whistled down. Quay Russo in on the action for the Ohio State defense along with John Walker.
John Walker's a really good football player. You know, I walked in and I was talking to Coach Mickey Marotti, the strength coach here, and his first thing he said about John Walker is he's a really good football player. Doesn't really speak a lot, very quiet. Matt Patricia said he made him speak in meetings because he wanted people to hear his voice. You see why he's going to be a force this year. Really good pickup in the transfer portal for the Buckeyes.
Highest rated recruit in UCF history before coming to Ohio State. And we saw the transfer from Alabama. Connor Hawkins kicking a field goal for the first time today.
These are big moments for Buckeye Nation.
And he nails it.
That is a great sign. You think about some of the games that was lost in the last few years. You know, you go back to the Georgia game in the Peach Bowl. That was a loss. You think about, you know, the Team Up North game, missed the field goal.
Has been a bit of a sore spot in recent years, and right now get 3 months of Big Ten Plus for just $5.99 a month with promo code SAVE26. You get access to hundreds of live Big Ten sporting events, full and condensed replays, and highlights. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to BigTenPlus.com and make sure to enter SAVE26 when selecting a monthly pass at checkout to take advantage of this offer. So the defense, the great team, gets a stop. Matt Patricia, his 2nd season as the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, led the best defense in the country last year. You know, we talk about all these players that the defense has to replace. That was a similar conversation going into last year,
Yeah.
and they ended up as the best unit in the nation.
Well, I think he's learned a lot. He's got a lot of clout from Buckeye Nation. These fans, they understand that Matt Patricia can find schemes and put guys in different positions and utilize them to their full capabilities, that they're not worried about losing some of these guys.
A strike from Sayin to Nate Roberts for a big pickup. Now let's go to Michelle again.
I'm down on the field with Sonny Styles. Sonny, you were playing on this field not too long ago. What's it like to be back in the shoe?
Yeah, just excited to be here, support these guys, see some of the fans. Obviously a little bit emotional. Last time I was in here, I was playing, so it's a little different now, but just excited to be back.
So you're somebody who may hear their name called very early next week at the NFL draft. How are you preparing for that?
I'm super excited. I really don't have any range on my mind. I'm just excited whoever calls, and I'm just ready to get to work.
You were a part of an elite defense last season with Ohio State. I want to ask you, through spring practice, so far what you've seen in this game, tell me a little bit about this unit.
Yeah, some different faces, but some really good guys. They're bringing a lot of veteran players, guys who played a lot of football at some really good schools. So I'm super excited for them. I know. For me, I really like Earl Little. I think he's going to be a good player. I love the way he played in the spring when I came to field practice. So he's going to do awesome. I'm super excited for my guy, Peyton Pierce. It's his turn to run the show. So going to his third year, he's going to have a really good year. I'm excited for him.
What's it like for the young guys coming out? Maybe this is their first time in Ohio Stadium for this spring football game.
Yeah, you just get the jitters out the way. Just go out there and have fun. I remember my first time. It feels like this big show, but at the end of the day, it's just football. You just have fun with it.
Sonny, good luck at the draft. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Back to you guys.
How good was he? Just unbelievable.
He, a guy that came in as a safety, and now he's playing linebacker, and now he's considered one of the best linebacker prospects in the draft. It just shows you how committed. Oh, you got an interception. Tips and overthrows. You got to get those, Jack. Every time. You got to make them pay on defense any opportunity that you get. So I love the fact that they got that takeaway.
Bo Atkinson hauls it in.
Does a great job of matching the quarterback's hand. That's right there is an underrated thing that doesn't get talked about enough. When you get a defensive tackle and you can't quite get there, get your hands up, match the quarterback's throwing hand, and get a tip in the air and watch these guys make a play. Will Smith Jr., I know his father would be proud of him.
Absolutely good work from Will Smith. His dad, the late Will Smith, first-team All-American, national champion here with Ohio State. Great defensive end in the NFL with the Saints. As Sayin throws a pick right after he had an encouraging scramble once again, which is what Ohio State fans wanted to see. And Atkinson, the former North Carolina Tar Heel, with the interception. Aki with a little shifts, and the freshman running back spins ahead for a gain of 9.
I went back and I looked at a lot of his high school tape, and he's one of those guys that does a great job in between tackles, but where he makes his money at is when he gets to that outside. He's very hard to bring down. He's not going to go down off of just the arm tackle. You have to physically put your body on his to be able to get him down, and I think that is something that's going to be needed when you talk about short yardage and goal line situations.
Question in the running back room is who's going to be the third guy. It seems like Bo Jackson and Isaiah West are number 1 and number 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Aki muscles ahead.
He's got a chance today to try to make a big impression on why he should be in that rotation. You think about, Jacoby Jackson, you think about Legend Day, and now you put his name in there. Those guys are looking to play in the fall. I tell you what, the one thing I like about Ohio State is that they go into these games and they have about 3 guys that they will rotate in any given game. So you want to make sure that you're in that top 3 when you talk about that running back.
Tavian St. Clair back out there. Second drive for him. First ended in a field goal for the Scarlet team, the offense. Back to Aki on the ground. And you can see we are full live tackling at this point after the third period, which is what everybody wants to see.
You got to get these guys some game reps, and in practice you take care of each other all the time, but you have to get these defensive players ready and these offensive players ready, because the season is going to be upon us right away, and if you're not used to physically bringing guys all the way to the ground, it could be a shock to you when you get to a live game situation. So I love the fact that Ryan Day is letting them play all the way through.
Make it to Aki. St. Clair going deep. Henry's there. Touchdown.
This is something that we might see a lot of in the fall right here. Chris Henry Jr. is having an unbelievable game. He is showing you why he is one of the top receivers in the nation. And Tavian St. Clair, a guy who, you know, has his inconsistencies, has found Chris Henry Jr. for 2 nice passes down the field. Look at that arm strength right there. Nice fade route. All the separation that you need made it an easy pitch and catch for Chris Henry Jr. He is making a strong push, Jack, for being that wide receiver 3 to play alongside Jeremiah Smith.
He is a long strider, a couple of big catches already. 2 receptions for 74 yards and now a 40-yard touchdown from St. Clair. And Hawkins has the extra point. Caden Curry down the field, standing by with Michelle.
Hey, Caden, I actually just talked to your teammate, Sonny Styles, and he was a little bit emotional. Not gonna lie, being back in the stream for the first time, but not playing on the field. How does it feel to you?
It's just different. I mean, coming here, playing all 4 years, being a true Buckeye, I mean, it's something special coming out in this field, and now being an alumni coming out here is definitely special.
What have you seen out of this defense so far? We all know what you guys did last year, and that was an absolutely elite unit, but what's your assessment of how the new guys are fitting in?
I mean, they're just going to become Buckeyes. I mean, whenever you come to Ohio State, it's always reload, and I know Coach Patricia does a good time with them in the meetings and getting them ready for this moment, and I'm just glad they're out here having fun.
Listen, I'm not breaking news here when I say that the Buckeyes are an absolute NFL factory. How are you preparing for the draft next week?
Yeah, I mean, just staying around here, Columbus, talking to all of our coaches, and obviously it's the best facilities around the world. So just being able to meet with our guys and just keep getting with the older guys and just working every single day.
What's one thing that you took from Coach Jay and this program that you hope to bring with you to the NFL?
Yeah, it's just the culture around here is fight. We're just fighting every single day to be the best versions of ourselves as Buckeyes and players, and just taking it all in one step at a time.
Thanks, Caden. I know you're going to be in Indianapolis at home for the draft. We'll be watching.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Now the Center Grove High School product. Finally got his shot to start last year. 11 sacks.
He was really good. 11 sacks, 16 TFLs. He was really good for that defense last year.
You know, Caden might not be a first-round pick, but he's still going to the NFL. And Ryan Day, earlier, a couple weeks ago, said, when you come to Ohio State, you got to be a first or second round pick. Now, I don't know if he meant that literally, but you have to perform like that and have that kind of urgency.
Well, there was a lot of former players that made a lot of jokes about that because me, myself, I was undrafted, so I wouldn't have worked out for Ryan Day there. But, no, I think that what he means is that when you come here, the mentality is that you want to be the best at your position. You're required to be the best at your position. We're going to give you everything you need to become a first-round pick. And if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, that's on you.
Nice juggling catch for Devin McEwen. But it was ruled a sack. Bo Atkinson was asking for it. He had an interception a few moments ago. He was running off the field like, yeah, I got to him.
That offensive line is going to be interesting. Obviously, you talk about some guys that didn't participate in the spring. The 2 tackles, Phillip Daniels and Austin Saravel, you know, having 2 guys fill in, Carter Lowe and Ian Moore, those guys are going to be looked at very tough today because we want to know if those guys can be able to play in the fall. You know, you think about when they won the national championship, all the things that offensive line had to endure. There was a lot of rotation and a lot of moving parts on that offensive line. Guys had to fill in. Donovan Jackson had to go from guard to tackle. You know, you want to make sure that you got your best 5 guys and that you trust these guys to go in the game and still be able to do everything you want to do.
Yeah, very important reps for Moore and Lowe today. Back to take the punt, Brandon Ennis. He's been the punt returner for Ohio State the last couple of years. Joe McGuire, the boot, in his 3rd season coming up as the starting punter for the Buckeyes. All right, the Scarlet's looking pretty good so far on offense. Julian Sayin led a touchdown march. Jeremiah Smith a couple of catches. Atkinson a pick. Chris Henry Jr. with his first touchdown in Ohio Stadium. You're watching Big Ten Network Spring Football. First of 2 today. We've got Michigan spring game coming up right after this. Scarlet, the offense against Gray, the defense. A touchdown pass for Tavian St. Clair to Chris Henry. And Julian Sayin led a touchdown drive as well for the Scarlet. Offense against a defense that is still expected to be outstanding once again this year. but they were borderline historic last year.
And you asked, how do you get better? We talked to Matt Patricia, and I said, you know, one of the things that I noticed was the takeaway category. How is it that we can get better in takeaways? And again, he did a really great job of saying, you know, third downs, if we get off the field on third downs, we consider that takeaways. And they were really good at that last year.
And when you actually break down the number of snaps that they were out there for, about 48 snaps a game, they weren't out there that long, so it's less chances to get takeaways. It really wasn't that big of a deal to him when we brought it up.
Not at all. But I still want a happy medium. I'm a defensive back, so, you know, I love a nice takeaway, and I love the way that it changes the game and the energy that it just gives the sideline, the offense and the defense. And to me, getting takeaways is contagious. Once you see one guy get one, now other guys going to. And oh my goodness, I almost
won that.
Tough one up, didn't I? He must be hearing me out there. Inky Jones out there making plays. He's another guy that I think is going to see some time in this fall. Look at that great three-step read, not getting too far in his pedal, reading that the route is going to be short. They run a nice little spray out from Brock Boyd there, who's also got a ton of praise. But he sat down on that route, jumped it. Got to reward yourself. You can't win the Super Bowl and not ride off in something nice.
Tyvis just had flashbacks to 2013 against Michigan and almost jumped out of his seat.
I did. I got to keep myself composed. I love a good defensive play.
3rd and 6. St. Clair over the middle and finds Henry again.
Yeah.
Those two have linked up 3 times now.
It seems to me that this offense is doing a great job of figuring out when that defense is running cover 2, and they're running slants right in that zone. Those linebackers got to find a way to look at those wide receivers and read those quarterback eyes and break on it. But Chris Henry Jr., he's got really good hands, man. Great catch radius. Again, I tell you, he might even give me trouble, Jack, if I went out there and tried to check it.
Come on now, Tyvis. Don't play yourself down too much. No, Chris super talented, having a great day so far. St. Clair looking deep again. He wants the shot down the field. Incomplete.
Great play right there on the ball. That could have been bad. That really, really could have been bad. That's a great job right there by that safety making the play on that ball.
Target was Jerquaden Guilford, the freshman, off the deep ball. And the breakup from Blaine Bradford, another freshman out of Baton Rouge.
So the one thing I like about this play is when you look at corners, especially young DBs, when they're beat, they have a tendency of looking back at the football and trying to play it. You got to make sure that you get a hand-to-hit relationship with that wide receiver before you look back for the ball. He never looked back. He played the wide receiver's hands and was able to make a really good play on the ball. An excellent defensive back play right there, by the way.
Quay Rousseau coming in for the hard tackle.
Now, Quay Rousseau is one of those guys that I watched yesterday in practice. So you've been hearing you hear all about speed to power, speed to power. You want to know what it looks like? That right there is exactly what it looks like. He goes down, shuffles down the line of scrimmage, making sure that he takes all the air out of that gap so that running back has no lane to go through, and he sinks down and makes a tackle on the ball. That is great fundamentals right there by Quay. I think he's going to be very special for this defense.
3rd down now after the transfer from Alabama, Quay Rousseau. Makes the tackle midfield. St. Clair goes in and almost picked. Tyvis is losing his mind.
Listen, we getting the opportunity. What I like about it is that the defensive backs are putting themselves in position to make plays on the ball. We got to finish this. Look at this great play by Cam Calhoun. Now, I have to give Wade Guilford some credit here. He did a really great job of becoming the DB and knocking that ball down. But we got to finish those. Those right there could be the difference of winning and losing the game. These corners are impressive, though. The way that they seems like they made an emphasis on trying to get to the football, we just got to finish these plays.
I thought Matt Patricia took dropped interceptions hard, man. This is just killing you.
Yeah. Because it's so hard, Jack. It's so hard to get yourself in that position and not to reward yourself. I just don't like it.
Well done from Joe McGuire there. On the punt, coming up more spring football as Kyle Whittingham's Wolverines are on the field at the Big House next on the Big Ten Network. And the Fox Sports app. Ohio State fans will get their first look at the enemy. Stick around on the Big Ten Network.
So far, I like what I've seen out of Tavian St. Clair. I think that, you know, the arm strength is there. He's not afraid to push the ball down the field. You know, he wants to make the explosive plays. Got to see him clean it up, though. He's got to be more consistent in some of these passes, though. But when you see him make the big throws, you can see why he's at Ohio State. You can see the big play-making ability that he has. I really like it.
Well, he came from a small high school, under 700 students at Bellefontaine High School. Kind of a blank slate when he came in. Just a lot to take in over his first couple of years, but making progress under Ryan Day. Julian Saint's still playing now. We didn't expect to see him this long.
Well, he's seen Tavian make all them throws down the field. He wants to get some of that action himself.
More pressure from the defensive line. Got another sack. Kenyatta Jackson Jr. in on the pressure. He is the bona fide pass rusher coming back on the edge for Ohio State. More of the question is who will join him on the opposite side.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that you got a bunch of names. You got Quay Rousseau that's been over there making some plays. You got Zion Grady who's getting some action in there. I also want to know about that defensive tackle position. We spent a lot of time, you know, talking about Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, and Arvell Reese. But to me, Cade McDonald was one of the biggest focal points on this defense. If you got a good defensive tackle that can go in there and stop that run game, it makes things a lot easier for everybody else around them. So those defensive tackles are going to have to step it up because you're trying to replace the Big Ten defensive player or defensive lineman of the year.
Matt Jackson just did it again, and a reminder, he is going against Carter Lowe, who's a sophomore, getting the first team reps with Austin Saraveld and Phillip Daniels out. Two young new tackles for Ohio State with the starters out with injury.
You know, and the spring has been going really well for them. You know, you've seen these guys. Ryan Day has praised both of those guys as guys that he wants to see make that push in fall camp. You know, want to have these guys involved when the season starts. So obviously you need to have a more consistent spring game. They got to pick it up a little bit because the defensive line or defensive edges are getting back in that backfield a little bit more than you would like. But I think they'll be fine.
Leads to Jacoby Jackson. Again, he's getting reps, talking it up with James Smith, one of those guys coming in on the defensive line from Alabama. He was the top interior defensive lineman in the quarter.
And you see for good reasons why. James Smith and John Walker, both of those guys to me are going to be great replacements to be able to do. We got a fourth down. We're going for it. I love the aggressiveness here by Arthur Smith.
Why not in the spring game?
What do you got to lose?
See what Arthur Smith dials up, the new offensive coordinator for the Buckeyes this year. Julian Saint still playing well into the second quarter. Saint stepping up, contact on the back, throwing it wide, incomplete.
No flags out there, got a lot of pressure. I tell you what, one thing about Julian last year, you look back at that Indiana game or you look at the Miami game, that was the first time in all season where he dealt with pressure. A lot of good defensive line play from Indiana and Miami, and he had a little happy feet back there. I want to see how he reacts nowadays when you got guys that's being able to get out. That's probably why he's out there right now, you know, because these edges are doing a great job of getting pressure. Can he still operate? Can he still go through his progressions and stay calm, even though there's people around his arm and around his feet? And I think that is the next step for him. And I think that we're going to see that. We're going to see a more confident version of him, and guys are going to make better plays.
That's a great point. If he can do it with a couple of backup tackles in there right now against the first-string defense, when he gets his starting offensive line back, things should only get easier for Julian Saint. So with all of the sacks starting to rack up, you get 2 points for each sack. The great team has taken the lead.
Love that.
Midway through the second quarter, Tyvus is fired up.
As a former defensive player, I like that.
And on the ground with Favor Aki. Reminder, 4 different injuries at running back. A thin room. Star of the game so far has been Chris Henry Jr. and his connection with Tavian St. Clair.
He has been as good as advertised. You know, you hear all of these stories about what he's doing over there at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and now to see it on full display, I see exactly why he was one of the top receivers in the nation, and I don't see why he would not be playing in the fall this season.
Started off the show, who's going to join Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis as the number 3 receiver. There's a lot of data points over the spring and into fall camp, but Chris Henry making an impression. There he is again, but he drops this one.
As soon as we talk about it.
That's the way it goes.
We might have jinxed him a little bit there. Again, though, I am very impressed with the way Tavian St. Clair is playing. I mean, that's a really good ball. A little bit behind him, but still, you got 10 fingers on it. You got to come down with that as one of the receivers here at Ohio State, which Ryan Day harped on. It's not okay to drop a pass. It is not okay. Now, Brian Hartline did a really great job before he left, making sure that guys understood the importance of how practice is, how hard it is to get open in these games and being able to finish those plays. So you probably think Chris Henry Jr. is kicking himself about not making that play.
He literally told us that. Yeah, it's not okay to drop a pass.
Oh.
That's not the standard here. Third down. St. Clair going deep. Incomplete.
It's a lot of crisscross, a lot of over routes out here today. I love the fact that we're going to put these linebackers in these mismatches. Arthur Smith is doing a really good job of realizing we got a linebacker on a wide receiver. We're going to take advantage of that, but that is great coverage there by the linebacker, being able to lay out and make that play and just make it tough on these wide receivers. I love what I'm seeing out of Matt Patricia's defense. We talk about 7 guys having to be replacing that defense so far. These guys that's doing the replacing is doing a really phenomenal job making sure that they can still be the silver bullets for the season.
Brian Rudzinski on the coverage there. Stop against Arthur Smith's offense. And Innes has the fair catch at the 20. So coming up, it is a brutal schedule this fall for Ohio State. The one everyone's circling first is Texas, and this will be the 3rd straight year that Ohio State will face the Longhorns.
Yeah, they got to be ready to go. Obviously, you get Ball State. It's a little different from last year. Last year, you opened up the gates against Texas. Now you get a game against your Ball State team, being able to find their feet, their footing, get good chemistry. And when you go down to Texas, obviously Texas is expected to be a really good team this year. You're getting Arch Manning back and some of those guys. It's going to be a really good showing for Julian Saying. It's going to be a really good test for this Buckeye roster.
I love my Cardinals, man. It's gonna be tough in Ohio Stadium to start off the year. But yeah, second ever trip to Texas that Ohio State will take this fall. Trying to get the right personnel on the field right now. Again, the guys are going to be shuffling in and out. And we are going to get our first look at Justin Martin, the 3rd string quarterback for Ryan Day. He told us yesterday he's in competition with St. Clair to be the backup.
Said that he
from Maryland.
Said that he really likes his approach, the way he comes and commands the huddle. Obviously, he's got that veteran experience. Just in case if Tavian St. Clair isn't ready for the season and can't handle it, you got a guy that's been out there, that's seen action, that's called games and won games in this conference. So I think that for him, it's actually a good spot to be.
Absolutely. He came to Ohio State because he felt like the development here could make him the best quarterback possible. It's his 3rd different Big Ten school. He was injured at Maryland last year, the season opener, backing up Malik Washington after 3 years at UCLA, and he did have 1 start at Penn State where he played pretty well. Just under 200 yards.
His story is kind of similar to a Will Howard story. If you go back and listen to Will Howard talk about the things that he learned while playing quarterback at Ohio State, I remember him talking about how they would watch film and the coaches would say, this guy is open. And Will Howard would say, no, he's not. The guy is all over. And the coaches would say, no, but if you put the ball in this spot, he's open. It's just advanced quarterback talk here at Ohio State. So Justin Martin is trying to get some of that going, and who knows? We might see him a little bit in the
It's a great insight into what these quarterbacks are feeling when they come into the program. 3rd down here for Martin, his first drive. Long throw to the sideline and complete. Links up with Jerquaden Guilford, the freshman. It is a little bit short, 1 yard short. You would imagine Ohio State's going for it, or Ryan Day pulls the ultimate trump card and says, give him the first down.
No, I think he's trying to be fair about this one. We're talking about, well, never mind. You're right. They gave him the first.
He is the game master.
I like to see the challenge flag go down.
I want to see more of a drive, guys. Just keep it going. It's good enough. Hunter Welsing, the transfer from Northwestern, 7th-year senior in motion. And Martin will give it off this time, diving ahead for a gain of 5.
one of the things that Arthur Smith is looking to improve this year is the run game. If you watched Ohio State last year, you know that there was games where they struggled to really run the ball to the magnitude that they did a couple of years ago. So you listen to the offensive line coach Tyler Bowen talk about the offensive line. He wants those guys to be tough and rugged. He wants the offensive line to make guys around them better. And I hope that we see that this fall when we see these Buckeyes play.
That's what everyone thinks of, along with the sacks on saying Ohio State just couldn't run the ball the last couple of games last year. Looking back shoulder, there's the flag. It'll be on Cam Calhoun.
A little tug there. They're probably going to call Cam Calhoun for a little tug there. Nice little pass interference there. I understand.
Pass interference, defense number 18, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Tyvis willing to accept it grudgingly. And you talk about the run game, Tyvis. Bo Jackson, he had a really good freshman year. Now the question is he a really good running back, or is he one of the best in college football?
I think that if you're going to be here at Ohio State and you listen to Ryan Day come out and say you have to be a first or second round pick, you have to become one of the best running backs in Ohio State. How can a freshman get better? Well, the one thing that I noticed about Bo Jackson last year is that he was really good patient, but his acceleration is what made him really good. What I didn't like was there was a couple of runs where I felt he should have broken away that he got caught from behind. So I'm hoping he takes that next step to be able to complete those long runs, because he's seen, if you watch his high school tape, he is a home run hitter.
Nearly a home run pass there to Jaden Ricketts. But yards after catch to the receivers and turning 4 5-yard gains into 12 to 15-yard gains. That's been the focus for the skill positions all offseason.
Yeah, you get Cortez Hankton coming in, and you ask, well, how can you make this wide receiver room any better? And the big focal point has been yards after catch. They want to find a way to use Brandon Ennis a little bit better. Get the ball in his hands. If you look at Brandon Ennis's makeup, he's got kind of that running back shape to him. Small, thicker type of guy, probably does a great job of breaking tackles. So let's get the ball in his hands. Jeremiah Smith, as big as he is, a lot of secondary players don't want to tackle that big guy in space. So let's get the ball in his hands and let him make plays with his legs and do a great job with the yards after the catch.
Wow, James Smith just absolutely destroyed that play.
Yeah.
Had Justin Martin off balance.
Yeah, he almost threw a pick. I mean, the center kind of fell right into his leg and messed up that whole entire play.
Arthur Smith and Ryan Day are going to scheme guys open in this offense, but can they take the short gains and potentially house calls? That's what the focus has been.
Well, the good news is this. You look at the wide receiver room, as good as they are, you get Jeremiah Smith, you get Brandon Ennis. When you talk about as a secondary and as a defense, you're going to put 4 eyes on these guys, right? So you're going to have a safety in the corner always paying attention to these guys. When you talk about taking a check down, teams are all the way back. When you're playing zone, you got to get back. You got to get 15 to 20 yards back in your zone. That means that the check down kid, if you throw it right, he can pick up 8 to 10 yards.
After the 4-yard run from Justin Martin, the punt for Ohio State. And Brady Young, the backup punter, sends it over Brandon Ennis' head. And later today, it's a huge women's lacrosse doubleheader. First, the Buckeyes challenge third-ranked Maryland. Then, Northwestern collides with Michigan. Live coverage begins at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Lacrosse season wrapping up this spring. Spring will fall over the next couple of weeks. And we talked about the rain right away. We expected it to come in around halftime, and it is starting to drizzle.
Well, I think that's probably why we see so many pass players early on, because they knew that this rain was going to hit. Obviously, it's going to affect the passing game a little bit. Although I talked to some good quarterbacks, and they say that it's not necessarily the rain, it's the wind that messes up the passing game.
Defense loves the elements. You were all about it.
You know, you know what I like about the rain is that you don't have to worry about guys making too many moves when they get the ball.
Yeah.
Because if they do, they're going to slip and fall. So that's one of those ones where you really want to keep your feet running on contact.
Jacoby Jackson keeping those feet moving, picks up 5. And the clock approaching 3 minutes left here in the first half. Gray skies, maybe that's a good omen for the gray team. Scarlet, the offense has won 3 of the last 4 spring games, but it is the defense ahead right now.
It is a time for the defense to stand up and make a change. You know, I love the fact that they can find a way to win the spring game. Because to me, I always felt like it was, as a player, I always thought it was more catered to the offense. So to see the great team winning, I love that.
Of course you thought that. Now, I can't disagree based on the format.
Thank you.
But still. Second down, St. Clair the quarterback, Jackson the carry. And falls forward for a gain of 4.
Jackson, a big body guy. One thing about those big body running backs is that they're always going to fall forward. And that is hitting yardage that people don't talk about a lot. If you're one of those running backs that every time you get hit, you fall forward and you pick up maybe 1 or 2 yards, we know this is a game of inches. It was a great speech on Any Given Sunday that you got to fight for that inch. Well, that's what Jacoby Jackson is out there doing.
I think I just heard Al Pacino, right?
You like that?
Yeah, that's perfect. 3rd and 1. And Ohio State pick up a couple inches here. Right back to Jackson. He did not get there.
I want to say that was Sincere.
Yes, Sincere Johnson on the tackle.
Coming from Glenville, right up the street. We had Arvell Reese obviously come from Glenville, and he was making plays. Apparently, Glenville is doing a really good job. He sees it, and he doesn't stop. He shoots the gap and goes out there and makes a really good play. I love that. I love when a young guy, it clicks for young guys. They start to see what an offense is doing. They read their keys, and they trigger. You have to go. You have to go right away to make those plays to get a nice TFL. That is nice to see a young linebacker who's a freshman being able to make a play in the backfield like that.
It sets up 4th and 2. Of course, Ohio State's going to go for it. Spring game. And wrapped up in the backfield again. Johnson in on the company. Kari Wilder made that play, though. So the explosion of Sincere Johnson, that's why his ceiling is so high as a freshman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you knew that he was a smart linebacker. When you listen to him recruiting, they say that his above-shoulders knowledge of football is really good. This is one of those guys right here that see it right now. You see that guard getting down. You see the gap open, and he takes off right there, makes a really good tackle on Jacoby Jackson.
He had colossal numbers in high school, by the way. You mentioned Glenville High School, Cleveland area. Over 200 tackles as a junior. That's 15 to 20 tackles a game.
As a junior?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I had 200 tackles in my career at Ohio State. So,
you know, in a different position.
It tells me he has a nose for the football. He understands exactly what the offense is trying to do. And if you can get a linebacker like that, you think about Ray Lewis, Luke Kuechly, Brian Urlacher, guys like that. They understood what an offense was trying to do. You can alert everybody like this is what's about to happen. It makes everybody else play better. And again, when you see it, you have to go. That's how you make plays. If you hesitate a little bit, that could be the difference of making the play and not.
Now it's Luke Fahey in at quarterback. This is a tough first drive for him to come in with the rain falling harder than it has all day. Got a completion to Hunter Welsing, the Northwestern transfer.
But I like the fact that his first pass is a short pass. Get him some drive starters. Get him a nice little hitch route to try to get rhythm. When you're coming in off the bench, you want to get your young guy going, and the best way to do it is completions, because completions equals confidence.
Four-star freshman out of Southern California, averaged nearly 300 passing yards a game as a senior this past fall. Oh, Fahey wants a shot. Going to the pylon, and no flag comes out.
Nice little hand fight right there. I like the fact that when you get those type of hand fights, some referees let it go. If the receiver's doing it and the DB is doing it, typically they don't call it. So I like the fact that there was a no call there. That was some great coverage out there by the defense.
Jordan Woods on the coverage. Guilford the target. In every snap, Ryan Day is locked in on the urgency and the intensity of this program. You hear new players coming into the program. It's unrivaled in college football. As Fahey will scramble, first time on the ground for the freshman in Ohio Stadium, and he picks up 5.
Seems like it's been a heavy emphasis in all quarterbacks that we need to be more mobile. Luke Fahey seeing nothing's there, finding a way to use his leg to pick up some yardage.
He's a good goal scorer across, so he's got some mobility. Started 5. Fourth stringer Luke Fahey with a dart near the pylon, hauled in, incomplete. Brock Boyd made the catch. This guy has been so good.
Oh, man. He has been a name that has been, you hear him, something about him every day in practice. Look at him lay out and try to make that play right there. That is really good. He was the first freshman to get his black stripe taken off. You think about all the time we've been spending on Chris Henry Jr. and all the plays that we've seen, but Brock Boyd has come in. They say he's an excellent route runner, and he plays every position at wide receiver. You can play him inside, outside. We were watching him yesterday in a red zone period. He ends up beating the DB, and he's kind of open on the route, and he's upset that the quarterback didn't get him the ball. And the funniest thing about it is it was a run play. So he was wide open on a run play, but he was still upset. I guess it must have been one of those RPO plays. But you can see the competitiveness there with Brock Boyd.
And Ryan Day's going to call halftime now after the 43-yard miss from Connor Hawkins, who did drill one from about the same distance earlier in the game. Well, first half of the defense.
I like what I've seen out of that defense. Very solid. No leaky runs. You haven't seen no running back break off no long runs. I think that even when you see them, Arthur Smith running these crossing routes, they're doing a really good job of defending it. I love to see the secondary make plays. They're putting themselves in position. They got to finish. They just got to finish.
Offense got off to a hot start. Well, let's go to Michelle with Ryan Day.
Hey, Coach, Chris Henry really firing up this crowd on that touchdown play. What have you seen out of him in the first half?
I made a couple nice plays down the field, and then had an opportunity, to keep the drive going. We dropped that one. So there's some good, some bad. But, when a guy's coming out here for the first time, there's going to be a little bit of that going on. But it was good to see him make a couple plays down the field.
Defensively, plenty of new faces on this defense. What's your assessment of what you've seen in the first half so far?
Hard to tell. I mean, we'll get on the film and figure it out. But looks like guys are running around, playing hard, running and hitting. That's good. Obviously, when you're in a scrimmage like this, there's a lot going on. You kind of go back and forth. You don't get a chance to see the film, but looks like the guys are playing hard.
Thanks, Coach.
Our defense certainly playing hard, playing well at this point. Ohio State Spring Game 2026. Half the roster is new. Elite talent still everywhere. Ohio State band coming up after this at Ohio Stadium. Rain falling on Ohio State Spring Game. Great team, the defense leading the offense, the Scarlet, by 10 at the break. Let's listen in to the Ohio State Spring Athletic Band for a moment. Band in the land will be playing Buckeye Battle Cry across the field soon this fall. Halftime of the spring game with the great team in front. Second half of the Ohio State Spring Game moments away. And these guys are warriors out here. Band continuing to rock it at Ohio Stadium. Done in the rain. Let me look at the schedule for Ohio State. Tyvus, we talked about that Texas game My eyes go to the middle of the schedule with Indiana, USC, and Oregon all in a row.
Ready to go.
Absolutely. The schedule that Ohio State is going to have to navigate. Try and get back to the playoff for a third consecutive year. Great team on top by 10. Second half, moments away. Thanks for joining us on Big Ten Network for the Ohio State spring football game. Rain is falling, but we chug on in Columbus. The defense, the great team, on top by 10 right now. Fans hoping for some explosive offense in the second half. Great to have you with us. Jack Kaiser with former Buckeye safety Tyvis Powell. A big question today about the backup quarterback, Tavian St. Clair. What kind of production would he show? He brought a lot of big plays early on.
We definitely got to see his arm. I mean, you think about his size and the mobility and all that, but can he stay consistent? And we've seen him make some really good throws to Chris Henry Jr. Those two have a really strong connection right there. He's got about 100 yards in his game, got a touchdown, nice back shoulder. They're doing a really good job of displaying that he can handle being quarterback too.
And for Julian Sayin, last year's a redshirt freshman, a bit of an unknown. He looked totally in command the first couple of drives.
Yeah, the big thing for him is that can he operate that offense even when there's chaos around his feet? I think it's nice that his offensive tackles are not in there. He has to go out there, stay focused, keep his eyes downfield. But the best play that he made was the run with his legs. Being able to use those legs to get that touchdown. If we can see a lot more of that in the fall, I think we'll have a big season.
Absolutely. We led the show talking about defense. So much to replace there as far as NFL talent, guys that will be drafted next week. What did you see out of the defense in the first half?
I love the fact that we haven't seen anybody break any long runs. And then the defensive backs, although they've dropped some interceptions out there, they have put themselves in position to make these plays. When that ball goes up in the air, they have a mentality that ball belongs to me. Now, we just got to finish it. And if we finish it, we can take this defense a whole nother step to being even better than what they were last year.
Talking to defensive coordinator Matt Patricia now in his second year. I mean, he's the salt of the earth. We found that out earlier this week. Great guy to talk to. He said he's still experimenting with different schemes at this point. He played a few different defenses over the spring, trying to figure out what fits best for this personnel going into the fall.
Well, you look at the different body types. I mean, you're losing 2 6'4", 6'5", linebackers there that can get sideline to sideline. You're replacing those guys with Peyton Pierce. You're losing Caden McDonald. You're losing all these other guys. I think that when you look at what they brought into the transfer portal, you see what guys are best at. We've seen different fronts. You know, maybe they go from a traditional 4-3 to a 3-4 because you want to cater to a guy like Quay, and you want to keep John and James Smith on the field. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do. He's got to be very creative in that. But so far, I'm loving what I've seen. And this is just a plain vanilla game plan, but you see these guys flying around making plays.
Yeah, we know a Matt Patricia defense is going to be pretty exotic. Come the first game, especially the second game of the year against Texas.
He's one of the best at understanding what guys are good at and putting them in position to utilize their strengths on the field. He would never ask Quay to go out and play man coverage if he's not good at checking man. But if he's really good at getting to the pass rusher, he will create formations in fronts for Quay to be able to utilize his best pass rushing moves.
He's got the number 2 Ticonderoga sharpened in the right ear.
He doesn't leave home without it. You know, last year I got to interview him, and I got to ask him what is all that about. He keeps a sticky note on his laminated sheet. Yeah. That's how he writes it.
Well, he doesn't want to keep it in the pocket, too, because the pencil could get damaged.
Well, that's true.
Easiest to access. That's real. That's why he does it, too. Him and Arthur Smith have gone against each other in the NFL over a number of years, and we asked him about it yesterday. Like, to share notes, like, are you trying to make each other better? And of course,
all the time.
answer.
They said they share notes all the time. They talk every day because they're not trying to hide nothing. They both are committed to getting this Ohio State team back to the national championship and ultimately achieve the ultimate goal. So I love the fact that those two guys are friendly. They're helping each other out. You got two great minds on each side of the ball, helping each other out to make each other better, and I think that we'll see it in the fall when they're going up against other coordinators because they'll do a great job of saying, hey, this is what works against cover 3. You should try doing this because it gives us trouble. If he goes out there and does it against a team that predominantly runs cover 3, it probably would work.
I mean, think about having 2 former NFL head coaches, if you're Ryan Day, on your staff as your coordinators. It feels like at this point, this might be one of the handful, maybe the only program in the country who could really accomplish that, and it feels right for them.
I think it's the smartest move that Ryan Day can make, because you think about this roster turnover. We got 51 new players on this Buckeye team. But the only people that knows how to deal with roster turnover from week to week or even year to year is former NFL coordinators. We talked to Matt Patricia and Arthur Smith about it yesterday, joking, like, you guys, this is nothing to you guys. You guys had to get a guy new on Tuesday and have him ready to play on Sunday. So now you're getting a guy in the offseason, giving him a whole offseason to get ready. You're used to doing that. And they laughed and was like, yeah, that's pretty much how the NFL works. So to me, I think if this is the new stage of college football where guys are going to be transferring and there's going to be a big roster turnover, the best way to do it is to get former coordinators from the NFL or former head coaches, and I think Ryan Day did a really good job getting Arthur Smith and Matt Patricia.
He said Arthur Smith is the head coach of the offense. He relinquished that responsibility. Now it still is Ryan Day's program. So over the rest of the summer, they're going to talk about how do we blend what we do well here with what you do well, the run game, the tight ends, to make it as efficient of an offense as possible.
Well, one thing that people got to understand is that both Arthur Smith and Ohio State run a form of West Coast offense. So it's about the terminology and the concepts that they got to get on the same page about.
And we are underway in the second half after Phillip Bell takes the mock kickoff. Tavian St. Clair appears to be the guy starting the second half on the field. In the first half, St. Clair was 4 for 10, 100 yards and a touchdown, 40-yard touchdown to Chris Henry. So maybe not the accuracy that a Julian Sayin normally provides, but the big play certainly was there.
Well, also the DBs also made plays on the ball, so you got that going for you as well. But when you talk about arm strength and accuracy, he's definitely got that. We just need more consistency out of him, and I think he's got a whole second half to try to prove that he can stay consistent.
Expect him to get a lot of reps here in the second half, prepare him to be one snap away coming into the game. Pressure, dump it off. Jacoby Jackson, transfer from Florida, with his first catch of the second half.
One thing that I liked on this was the block on Terry Moore. If you're on the defense, you're supposed to keep everything inside. You want to leverage all plays. You want that running back to cut back in. Jacoby Jackson actually got to the sideline and was able to pick up some more of that leaky yardage that I referenced earlier in this game.
Yeah, those hidden yards turning short gains into explosive plays, the emphasis. Second and short after the gain is 7. Jackson spinning ahead. No more thud period. We're live tackling since the first couple of drives. It'll be 3rd and short.
Again, he's a guy that he gets tackled in the backfield, but he does just enough to wiggle, maybe pick up 1 yard, maybe even 2. Now you're looking at 3rd and 1 instead of 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3. And I tell you right now, as a play caller, that makes a world of difference.
Jacoby Jackson could actually see the field this fall. Like, legitimately, he could get some carries.
Yeah, Carlos Locklin, the running back head coach, said that the 2 most complete backs that he trusts for every down right now, Bo Jackson and Jacoby Jackson.
Quay Rousseau on the pressure, and St. Clair had to throw it over Jackson's head. You would imagine Ohio State goes for it on 4th and short here. So Jackson planned on going to Charleston Southern after graduating from junior college. The day before he graduated, he got a call from Florida, and he was so shocked by it that he had to research the coaches and make sure he wasn't being punked. So he goes to Florida for a few years, and 2 years ago he had 7 touchdowns. Yeah. Legit production.
Well, last year he dealt with some shoulder injuries. I think he had an AC joint sprain, and if that's what he had, trust me, I know what that feels like, because I had 2 of them in my career, and that could bring an elephant down.
Not fun. St. Clair flushed out of the pocket, directing traffic, sideline, goes ahead, and marked down short. The offense does not pick up the 4th down. St. Clair stays out there.
I was about to say, does he stay aggressive?
Yeah.
Looks like the punt team.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want. Replay it 4th down.
They can give him the first, which it looked like, yeah. Or they get a new offense. That might be. Yeah.
New offense, move the ball ahead. Let's go from here.
Yep. Justin Martin is back out there. I like this competition between him and Taylor.
Yeah, different skill sets. And Martin knows how to take care of the ball, and that's what Ryan Day really appreciated about him. He's pretty mobile as well.
Yeah.
And just the professional aspect that he brings to his game as a fifth-year senior.
Well, he's got the makeup of all what you want in a backup quarterback. I mean, if you're going to come in the game, if Julian Sain goes down and he has to come into the game, you want that guy to be able to take care of the football and know where to go. That's the number two. That's the two things that you want out of your backup quarterback, and he fits the bill of doing it.
Perfect coverage there from Inky Jones. He's made a couple of plays today.
Inky Jones, every time I watch practice, I walked away and said, "Who is this number 21 guy?" He's a big physical guy, 6'2", 6'3". Love his size, but I love his movement. If you're going to be that tall, you got to have good feet, good hips. And I think him, Devin Sanchez, those two guys in particular, do a really good job of being a quick twitch and doing a great job of being able to turn their hips around.
That's exactly what you were when you played. You came in as a taller secondary player, but you still had the 4.46 speed.
Yeah, I was going to be, the next Richard Sherman, but they had other plans for me. They moved me right back to safety, and yeah, that's what happened with my career here. But when I got to the NFL, I actually teetered between corner and safety, so I understand being taller, what comes with it. You have to be able to sink those hips, and you got to be able to match those angles of some of those even shorter wide receivers.
On third down, Justin Martin feels pressure from Wilder, and that is a sack. The top two defensive line recruits in his class out of Sarah High School, Southern California. A freshman, hey, he's pretty good basketball.
Defense number 46, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And that wipes away the sack from Kari Wilder.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that one. It's still, you still got it on tape. You get good pass rush moves. That's the best thing about it. Let's look at this penalty. You got a holding call. Yeah. You got to let it go. You got to let it. And that's when you're nervous. When you're out of place and you're out of position and the guy's kind of got you. The number one thing that a young guy's going to do is grab. And sometimes you just got to let it go and live to see another day.
Haven't seen too many penalties today. Like you said, that's still on tape, so good work from Wilder. So St. Clair back out there, 30-17, the Gray team in front. The offense has won 3 of the last 4 spring games. Matt Patricia's happy right now. Laycock under 5 for the sophomore quarterback. Handoff to Aki. And a short first down carry. Julian Sain had some nice moments in the first half. He's with Michelle.
Julian, we were just talking about how Sonny Styles, one of your former teammates, was out here watching this team in the rain, and you said you were not surprised.
Not surprised. I mean, the guy loves ball. The guy loves Ohio State. He's a Buckeye through and through, Blanco, so not surprised out here.
And so do you. I mean, how much did you miss being in the shoe during the offseason?
It's been great to be back. Had a great crowd here today, even with the rain, and just love the support we have and love Buckeye Nation. So it's been awesome to play for them today.
You had a big season last year. What are you looking to improve upon in year 2?
I have an improvement in a lot of areas. Stepping up more as a leader, really take control of the offense, and looking for a big second year.
So when you say you want to step up as a leader, what's kind of your leadership style? Are you really vocal with the guys?
Yeah, I think you have to connect. There's no such thing as a non-vocal leader. You have to be vocal as a leader, and you have to really connect with your teammates. And we have a lot of new guys, but a lot of returning starters. So it's been a fun offseason to connect with those guys.
You have a new OC too. What you're going from Brian Hartline now to Arthur Smith. What do you think Smith has brought to the offense so far that excites you?
I like Coach Smith a lot. He's done a lot of good stuff in this spring that I think we all are excited about, and we have good connections. So I'm excited about what we're going to do this season.
Last question. I just actually passed a huge vat of water, and it said "Water for recruits only." What do you think?
That was a big completion down the sideline. Julian's going to like that for David Adolph.
Okay. You're okay? You're okay. Okay. I was going to say, what gets slept on? I mean, Ohio State's such a legendary program, but is there something that maybe recruits don't think about right away?
I think the competitiveness here is second to none. It's a very competitive place. If you want to be the best in the world at what you do, you come here. And the support that we have, I don't think that our training staff, the people in the building that are with us day in and day out get enough credit. We have a great training staff, great nutrition, great everything about that. I think they get not enough love, and they really do a good job.
Julian, thank you so much. Wet hair, don't care, guys.
Keep slugging it down there, guys. Rain continues to fall harder. You can tell by the body language and the way he speaks that he is even more comfortable going into this year.
I think it's big. You look at that offensive side of the ball, and you got JJ, who's obviously Jeremiah Smith was one of the best players in college football, but he's not a vocal guy. Bo Jackson is going to be a sophomore. He doesn't seem to be a vocal guy. You need somebody that's going to be that vocal leader on that offensive side of the ball, and it has to be Julian. The quarterback typically is the guy that commands everything and the guy that everybody's going to listen to. So I love the fact that he's being more vocal with his leadership this year.
A big 38-yard pass to Adolph from St. Clair. Sets up again. Has another completed pass, this one to Devin McEwen.
One thing that Tavian is doing a really good job of doing is getting that ball down the field. He pushes that ball down the field. His receivers are making those plays, and I like that. He's very explosive. He wants to run an explosive offense.
Ohio State fans get to see very possibly the starting quarterback in 2027 play right now.
Yeah, if everything goes the way it's supposed to, and he continues to progress and get better, and he gets consistent day in and day out, there's no reason why he should not be the next quarterback at Julian St. Clair.
On third and short, St. Clair slant and over the top of McEwen. Off the mark to bring up fourth down.
A little high on that route right there, but that was a nice little bang gate right there. You run that play action to get that linebackers to step up, and boom, you throw the slant right behind them. Just a little off target, but that wide receiver had his guy beat. Would have been a nice walk-in touchdown.
It's still weird to see Arthur Smith in that Blocko hat in the NFL.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. Buckeye fans should be excited. His Titan offenses, when he was the OC there, were absolutely spectacular. Derrick Henry.
Well, the two things that I feel like Ohio State needs to improve upon is actually two areas that he specializes in. The run game and red zone offense. Last year they got down there and they took a lot of field goals. And then there were situations where they would take a Carnell Tate and a Jeremiah Smith off the field to put in more tight ends. Well, he loves tight ends. Arthur Smith loves tight ends. He knows how to utilize these tight ends. So if you're going to take a playmaker like a Jeremiah Smith off the field or a Carnell Tate, hopefully that tight end, Nate Roberts, Max, all those guys come in and create mismatches and be able to score those touchdowns.
And you look at Nate Roberts, Mason Williams, Hunter Welsing, Max LeBlanc as some of those primary options for Arthur Smith in a tight end room that got emptied after last year with Max Clare and Will Kazmarek. Both should get drafted this upcoming week.
Yeah, Max Clare will be an X factor for whatever NFL team he goes to. He's a really good receiving tight end. Wish we could have got a little bit more out of him at Ohio State last year, but I also think that he is going to be a nice tight end too. We got Mike Campbell.
Yeah, Luke.
Tight end too that can work his way into a tight end one and become a huge X factor for the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, Luke Fahey, four-string quarterback with a fumble. Little bit slick out there.
Yeah, you can tell that ball didn't hit that turf a couple of times. The ball got a little wet, so you got to be extra cautious when you're carrying that.
The second time that he's seen the field today. And just a freshman, and second and a mile after the fumble. Short throw, complete. Desi Jones wrestled out of bounds. That'll do it for the third quarter. The gray team keeps expanding its lead. A defense that a lot to replace. A lot of NFL talent that'll get drafted this upcoming week. Playing well against the Scarlet team. There's been moments for about everybody. First look at what the 2026 Buckeyes will show in the fall. These Ohio State fans are something else, maybe the most passionate fan base in college football. Tomorrow, don't miss a softball doubleheader as the Buckeyes host Penn State, followed by a top 20 matchup between Washington and Oregon. Live coverage beginning at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Fourth quarter of the spring game. Ryan Day in the Standard. It will not let up even with a running clock here in the fourth. 12 minutes to go.
The great team might pull it off, Jack. They in a nice, comfortable league. Unless the offense can string together some touchdowns, the great team might pull this one off. And back in my day, you'd have to walk back if you lost the spring game.
He's not joking, people. It's a mile from here to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
Yep, and you see Coach Meyer and all the winning team ride by on the bus just waving at you.
Fahey incomplete for Jones on third down. Big part of the great team's success is this defensive line teeing off.
You see how they get this knockback. The offensive line wants to knock that offensive line or that defensive line back, and you don't see it. You see guys reading their gaps, reading their keys, making plays in that backfield. Look at that nice shuffle down the line to take the air out of every cutback gap. It's just, to me, it seems like Coach Johnson has done an unbelievable job doing the fundamentals, getting these guys to see the fundamentals, and these guys are taking it very seriously. They have some edginess to them. They're trying to get to that ball. They have made a really key emphasis on stopping the run. Nobody will run the ball through this defense.
Got to be really encouraging losing Caden Curry and Caden McDonald. And McDonald, arguably the most impactful player on last year's defense, and to see the guys behind them stepping up the following spring.
Yeah, he did a really good job of stopping that run. I'll be interested to see if he can get in that first round this upcoming year.
Projected in some to be in the first round. He would be the 5th for Ohio State. And Ohio State's most veteran receiver, Brandon Ennis, is with Michelle now.
Yeah, Brandon, we were just talking about whether there are any unks in a college football locker room, and there are, and you are one of them.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm the second oldest in the receiver room now, and I feel like I just got here yesterday, so it goes by fast for sure.
Plenty of talent in that wide receiver room. A lot of people are talking about how that number 3 spot is going to shake out. How do you see it?
All the guys are going to be competitive. You know, that's the receiver room. It's been like that here at Ohio State for many years before we got here. But whoever does the best job, you know, whoever makes the least amount of mistakes is going to get the job at the end of the day.
You know, I know that Coach Jay has challenged Julian Saint to make more plays with his legs. You know, we've seen Tavian have that real fun connection with Chris Henry Jr. as well. What have you seen so far in spring, and just continuing to build that connection with your quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, Julian has definitely been a way better leader this year, in my opinion. You know, we're going to go out there to California in a couple of weeks and just get with Julian and keep building that connection, because that's the biggest thing for wide receivers, to have that quarterback and wide receiver connection. So we're going to have a great offseason.
What's it been like, you know, as the veteran in the receivers room, to kind of like just get the young guys to lock in, and what's it been like playing with Chris Henry Jr.?
Yeah, it's easy. It was easy. You know, they bought in real fast. Like, it didn't take much. I just had to like tell them, I kind of had to like show them and lead them the way, and then they follow right along, and now they doing great things. You know, Chris had a great game here today. I don't think he's done yet, but he had a great game. He's gonna have a great career as well.
Can you share with us a little bit about what JSN told you? I know you caught up with him a little bit.
Yeah, we were just talking about like how his season went and like how fast it all goes, because he was my host on my official visit here, and the fact that like he already 3 years, about to be in his 4th year in the NFL, like it's crazy. Just, he said, enjoy all the moments.
Lots of luck to you. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you so much.
Brandon learned from so many great guys, and he mentioned specifically Emeka Abuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. There's a throwback that comes up short, incomplete. When you're learning from first-round receivers when you come in, the standard just continues that production going forward.
Yeah, you listen to Jeremiah Smith talk about Brandon Ennis. He wants to be a first-rounder. I know last year he didn't have quite the production on the season that a lot of people anticipated Brandon Ennis having, but this offense they're trying to figure out a way to utilize him more this year. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with getting the ball in his hands and allowing him to make the plays, because he's a very explosive and dynamic wide receiver. We just got to let him make some plays.
Rockboy with a catch earlier this drive. Clock under 8 minutes and a false start with Tavian St. Clair on the field.
5-yard penalty, second down.
Go on the freshman Guilford at receiver. And the thing that Ryan Day wanted to get across to his team the most, with all the new players, 51 new players, basically half a new roster, the urgency, the production, the intensity here is not like other places. And every single rep, you have to go all out with your effort.
Yeah, I learned the hard way when I played from Urban Meyer about how you got to go. He told me, you don't go hard. And I said, what? And he said, you just don't go hard. And you think about it, when you think about these young guys that's coming out of high school, they were the best players on their roster. So they didn't need to go 100% in practice. They can go 75 and get the job done. And then you have this mindset that I'm trying to save my energy for the game. So you don't go hard in practice, but when you do that here at Ohio State, now you're creating the thing where guys are getting better. You're sliding down the depth chart, so you have no choice but to go all out every single rep that you get in practice.
I'm sure that was a wake-up call.
It was.
Freshman, third down here, St. Clair. Flush left, looking downfield, plenty of space to run, and the sophomore scampers for a first down. Coming up July 11th, the BTN Big 10K returns to Soldier Field in Chicago. Scan the QR code or register right now at btnbig10k.com to be a part of the 10K or 5K race and post-race tailgate party. 15-yard gain for Tavian St. Clair.
There's going to be a lot of that this year. If Julian really does decide to be more mobile, I think it's going to be so open because these defenses are going to be so scared of these wide receivers that it's going to be just so much space for him to be able to pick up yards.
Not nearly as much space there. Dumps it out of bounds. You know, we were talking about Julian saying how much more comfortable he looks in the quarterback spot. Even Brandon Ennis said Julian's a way better leader this season. Last year, he was just trying to figure it out himself. Matt Patricia referenced that. He said, yeah, the eyes were a little bit wide in spring ball last season. Didn't know what we were doing defensively. This year, Julian's the one pointing out, oh, I know what you're in, Matt. I know what's coming. And just the command of the offense, he can start to exert his energy more towards elevating his teammates instead of worrying about himself.
You got to get that experience that he needed. And I think that now he's confident. He knows what it takes to go out there and win games on Saturday.
Let's go to Michelle again.
All right, we've got Carson Hintzman here who blocks for Julian Saint. We saw him make some plays today with his legs. What's that been like, blocking for him while he's doing that?
It's a little terrifying. You know, Jules has a weight goal he's been hitting this winter, so it's been good to see him bulk up a little bit. So him running, getting a little bit more comfortable with that. But I mean, I'd love to see a little QB truck, but we gotta say that till fall.
What's it like as a leader? He's talked about wanting to be more vocal this year.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, Callie, cool, man. That dude knows how to go out and lead. So I don't want to get you here.
Look out.
Look out there.
Yeah, no, but it's been good. I mean, he's been stepping up in the leadership role a little bit. He's taken us out to eat a couple times, something like that. It's really fun to hang out with him.
What needs to happen to kind of get the run game going? I know that you guys have some injuries at running back. So what needs to happen there, other than getting healthy?
Yeah, I mean, getting healthy is probably one of the biggest things right now. I mean, we got a few guys out right now for spring. He's kind of tentatively getting them back and stuff like that. It'll be huge comeback in the fall, having all of our guys healthy. But at the end of the day, the offense is living and breathing, so we got to be able to all come together and pound the rock.
I was talking to your teammate Brandon Ennis before, and he was saying about how quickly it goes. He's a senior now, and he remembers when Jackson Smith and Jigba was actually his host when he was coming here and getting recruited. Is that something that you kind of think about on days like today? Like, okay, it's raining, it's not the greatest conditions, but you kind of want to savor it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, JSN was my locker buddy when I first got here as a freshman. So it's kind of cool seeing him now. A little bit different hairstyle, but it's cool to see him, the growth that he's done in the NFL. I mean, it's pretty special. But, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a little bit different looking at this as my, last spring game and a lot of our last spring games and stuff like that. And just trying to savor it all and
hang out with the guys. I mean, we're going to try to get everyone together after the game to kind of get some more team camaraderie out and stuff like that, so it'll be good.
You're Unk now.
Literally Unk now, literally.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, most veteran, best offensive lineman for Ohio State. Carson Hinchman, first team All-American last year at center. There's under 3 minutes to go in the spring game. What a journey for him. I mean, Hinchman was the starting center back in 23. Benched briefly in 24, went to left guard with some injuries. Eventually back at center after Seth McLaughlin gets hurt in the national championship year. He has not looked back and really developed.
Yeah, he's had a really good career here. A lot of ups and downs in the beginning of it, but I think that center is the place for him. I think it was nice to see him show that he has versatility, because the more you can do on the offensive line, the better you are, the more value you have, especially on the next level. But I think center is the place for him, and I think that he's going to finish his career off here, have a really good year, and go on to have a good career in the NFL.
Fahey on the field at quarterback, and the slant is caught. Set up third and manageable. It feels like the offensive line might be the unit. Depending on how far Ohio State goes will depend on how well they play.
Well, if you think about their last two games, that kind of was the dictator of why they lost some of those games. They struggled in the Miami game. You know, had dealt with some injuries, had some new guys in there, and you've seen some things change on that offensive line. And not being able to protect Julian and having him have a little bit of happy feet kind of messed up a lot of the game plan. So you need those guys. Now that they're all back, they're having another year, they're going to have that chemistry, they're going to go through camp all as one unit. Look at that room right there.
Fahey might go the distance. Give it to him.
No, don't give it to him.
Come on. Fahey going all the way. How about the fourth stringer with the scramble into the end zone? 61 yards.
Man. Go through your progression, see it's not there, see that they're all in man-to-man. If they're all in man-to-man and their back is all towards you, they can't see you. This is what the Michael Vick rule was. He learned that if they're all in man, they're not looking at me, so I'm going to take off. And it was a lot of room, 61 free yards for him.
Would Kamari Bing have tackled him? Maybe.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Stop the game clock. One red zone series from the 20-yard line.
They're going to give him a red zone series here with 26 seconds left. See what the fourth stringer can do short time.
He's in the zone right now. He had a nice completion to get some confidence. As I told you, completions equals confidence. And now he's ripped off a 61-yarder. Let's see if he can finish this entire drive.
Fahey looking end zone. At a step. A little bit underthrown. Line drive shot as well. Looking for Jaquaden Guilford.
I like the fact that they did not call that out. You want to see that ball pushed out a little bit more in front of him, because Jaquaden Guilford had his guy beat on that route. He ended up throwing a back shoulder, and he tried to lay out to make a play for him. But Fahey got to find a way to get that ball, push it in the back of the end zone, give your guy the only chance to be able to make a play.
Guilford, the four-star freshman out of Fort Wayne. 21 seconds left and second down as we wrap up the spring game. And Ohio State will run it. Nothing there for Rocky.
Defense.
Ruled down.
Again, that defensive line.
Said the runner's progress was stopped before the ball came loose. Third down.
That defensive line is doing a really good job of getting back in that backfield, getting that penetration, making that running back stop and start his feet. And running back's doing a great job of trying to make the first guy miss, but you got so many guys swarming to the ball because they're all trying to make a play as well. So it's hard. I love the fact that this defensive line is playing like this. They are very stout against the run.
What Chris Henry did in the first half and then the defensive line the rest of the game feels like those have been the two stories.
Yeah, Chris, I think if you're going to walk away from this spring game, the one name that you're going to remember is Chris Henry.
Yeah, especially on the offensive side. Third down, clock is pretty much off. Fahey's going to run it, dodging, and whistled down inside of the 15. I assume they're going to give him one more play.
I would imagine it's going to be fourth down, so this is for it all. They should make it worth 16 points.
Well, there is a discrepancy here. In the stadium, it's 35-26. So they gave the touchdown to Fahey.
Okay. But in this could be, well, no, this needs to be for now. 8 points, no, 10 points. And the rain has come back a little bit.
As hard as it's pouring.
This is going to be interesting.
Go to the end zone here. Mayhe looking right, going short, incomplete.
And the defense storms the field.
Fine way to end it for the defense. Eli Riggs with the breakup, and the gray team takes the spring game.
I love to see that. I like to see the defense. I think that overall this was a really good performance from everybody on both sides of the ball. I think this was a really good, clean game. Obviously, playing under the elements was good because you're going to have to experience that. But I walked away with some key names from this game. And now they go sing Carmen, Ohio, a tradition. After every game, win or lose.
Going to be doing that pretty soon. It's about 4 months. Ball's coming quick.
Yeah, they're going to get a couple of weeks off, a couple of months off, and then before you know it, you're checking into the hotel for camp, getting ready for the season. I think they did a really good job with dealing with so many different players coming from different schools. You got a guy from UCF, guys from Alabama, guys from Florida State, Duke, all these different cultures.
And Michelle's now with Ryan Day.
Coach, spring ball's over. What are your big takeaways from the day?
I'm glad we were able to get it in. I appreciate the fans coming out despite the forecast. I thought the guys played hard. Execution's another conversation. I wish we could have stayed out here for another 7 hours, but we can't. We got to bring them in. We'll look at it, look at the film, see what we have, and then regroup and attack the summer.
What do you want these guys to build on now that spring football is over and the game is in the rear view? What's your message to the players?
First off, we got to individually figure out how we need to get better so we can play at a high level. We had some guys out today, certainly a running back, offensive line, and some other positions. So it'll be good to get them back. But then we got to come together as a team now, and that's what the summer's all about: coming together, having chemistry on both sides of the ball, and as a team.
Last couple of questions. Look at these fans out here. You have people in ponchos. You have people who stood outside. What can you say about them and just the devotion from this fan base?
Well, we have an obligation to come out and represent the Buckeyes in a way that the people here can be proud of, because as you can see, there's just a pride here. It's been going on for a long time. And so that's one of the things when anybody steps into the Woody, they have to understand, whether it's a coach or a player, it's bigger than just themselves. It's, we're out here for these people, and it was great to see them out here today. And the spring game is a good opportunity for, maybe some people who weren't able to come during the season to come enjoy our guys, and good to see some young people out here. And then it's important for our players to understand their role models, and they have an opportunity to affect the young generation. So great to see all the people out here, despite the rain, despite the weather.
NFL draft plans?
Yeah, we'll be there Thursday night. A bunch of guys going to the green room. So, looking forward to an exciting night.
Thanks so much, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Who's he going to sit with? Too many options.
I guess he's got, 4 or 5 options. You think about all 5 guys that's all attending the draft. He's going to have to go give 5 hugs and be with 5 families. It's going to be a really good night for the Buckeyes.
He's going to be standing up giving hugs for a while to start, too. He could have 4 top 10 draft picks coming up on Thursday. He's on the phone immediately. It's a big week here for Ohio State. They've got the big NIL fundraiser coming up tonight, coaches clinic earlier this week. A lot going on around the spring football game in Columbus. Great team. The defense wins it at Ohio Stadium. We'll wrap things up from Columbus right after this. The gray team, the defense, wins the spring game for Ohio State over Julian Sayin and Scarlet offense. Coming up, more spring football with Kyle Whittingham's Wolverines, first-year head coach coming from Utah. They'll be at the Big House, 2 Eastern next on the Big Ten Network. Appreciate you joining us today. Jack Kaiser, Michelle Steele down on the sidelines. Tyvis Powell, your last spring game was here 11 years ago. That's hard to believe, huh?
Why are you making me feel old?
I'm not trying to make you feel old.
I want to say that we won our last spring game, by the way.
Of course you did. You didn't have to make the walk back.
No, I did not make the walk back.
One of the stars today, a freshman, Chris Henry, he had nearly 100 yards and a touchdown.
It seems like there is no stage too big for him. I think that when you walk away, Chris Henry Jr. is the name that everybody in this town is going to talk about. He's got the size. He's showing you that he can make plays, short range, long range. Just throw it up to him. It doesn't matter. He's going to find a way to get it done. We talked about who's going to be potentially wide receiver 3. He made a strong case of why he should be the guy. Look forward to seeing how fall camp turns out for him.
Yeah, got to earn the trust of the quarterbacks, right, to maybe earn that number 3 receiver position. And talking about the quarterbacks, Julian Sayin very much in command those first couple of drives. Tavian St. Clair, he had the big plays.
I think that we needed to know what the backup role was going to be. Tavian St. Clair versus Justin Martin. He showed you that he could push the ball down the field. Now, again, it was all to Chris Henry Jr., but you see that he knows where to go with the ball. He's understanding the game, and he's not afraid to let his guy go out there and make a play. I like the confidence in him. And when you look at Julian Sayin, the one thing we wanted to see was the mobility. He seems to be able to get the ball out. He's always had that quick release, did a great job of getting the ball to his playmakers and allowing them to make plays. But to me, the biggest thing that we've seen out of him was being able to utilize his legs and pick up first downs multiple times in this game and even get a touchdown.
Heisman frontrunner Julian Sayin saw Jeremiah Smith with a couple of catches briefly as well. Fun day in Columbus, even braving the rain. The fans came out, had a ball. That's going to do it for us. On to the Michigan spring game with Jason Ross Jr., Jake Butt, Caroline Hendershot. For Tyvis Powell, Michelle Steele, and our entire crew, I'm Jack Kaiser. So long from Columbus.